6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To pursue science is not to disparage the things of the spirit. In fact, to pursue science rightly is to furnish the framework on which the spirit may rise.
Alright, can you hear me? Yes, you can. Welcome to the Endless Frontiers, your home for all things science, fiction, and science fiction. I'm your host, Jed Morgan, and I do apologize for that false start. It happens sometimes. Software doesn't start properly, and I don't double check it. It's entirely my fault. But we're here. We're live for another Right or Flight podcast. It looks like I might be a little hot, so I'm going to turn down my mic volume just a tiny bit. Hopefully that works out. And yes, we're here for another Ride or Flight. The week of Odyssey is here. The film is releasing in just a few days. I will be watching it as early as I can, getting out a review to you fine people. But we got a few last minute pieces of news, some last interview quotes to go over. It's going to be a disaster, I think, in quality. I'm not betting on the box office to be quality or the general reception of it to be a disaster. I just think the quality will not be what it should be from Christopher Nolan or as an adaptation of The Odyssey. Just real quick, yes, some of you might notice that my background is slightly different today. That is because there is a gaping hole in my ceiling right there. I mean, it's not that big. It's about that big. But yes, there's a hole in my ceiling. There was a leak from the shower upstairs. Had to get a plumber in here, and it's going to be fixed tomorrow. It's not a big deal. I just had to move my bookcase out of the way and a few other things, so nothing's technically wrong. Totally fine. Just shifted things around. But speaking of all you folks, you fine folks, welcome in, whether or not you're watching on the YouTube side or the Kick side. It's great to have you here. I see Algrim the Strong was here early saying, Herculean heralding, O thou cantankerous crimson count of Caledonia. Thank you, Algrim. Yes, I am very cantankerous today with everything I'm hearing out of the Odyssey. Everything is being overhyped. Like, I don't believe a film is that good if every single person who's seen it early is saying it's one of the greatest films ever. That is just too far. Project Hail Mary wasn't getting that kind of praise, and I think that was one of the best films of recent years. But, of course, I am open to being proved wrong. I do love Christopher Nolan, so I can be welcomed back into the cult of Nolan if it turns out that there is something to enjoy in the film, that it's better than I fear it isn't. But welcome in, Algrim. Legatus Legionus, the Mod Supreme, is also here doing the Lord's work on YouTube and Kick. It's great to have you here, my friend. And Dash is here as well, saying 3, 2, 1, lift off. Lift off indeed. Good evening, Ginger Norseman. Welcome in. Hopefully we're not going to go too late for you over on the other side of the pond. Cheers and ahoy. Yes. Algrim, are we still problematically probing today? Yes, that is the plan. 'Tis a fear of mine. You paid for the super chat last week. We unfortunately were not able to get around to it in last week's Chat Choose Your Own Adventure, so that probing is still in place, and the dice rolls of last week surrounding that will re-roll any of the other dice that we feel like. We'll play it a little bit by ear once we get to the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment. Dash says, ready for Legatus probe? That's right, you're right. It had to do with Legatus. I need to look up the comment. Let's see if I wrote it down. Did I actually write it down? I thought I had the actual name that we had for Legatus. I don't think I did. Damn it. I can look it up really quick, though, on the back end of YouTube. Let me pull that up real quickly. Let me see. Algrim, time to get the heavy ABV whiskeys out. I'm going to be drinking a lot of whiskey this week with the release of the Odyssey. It's going to be rough on me. I don't think you guys realize how much I love the Odyssey. It's really important to me. All right, I have it right here. All of us, Legatus's Persnickety Probe Penchant. I donate in honor of Dash Detecting. All right, I don't see the name there. I'll have to figure it out. It's all good. You can hear us. You can hear me now, Dash? Good, good. Yes, I did boomer it. Yes, it is my fault. I have sound software that my microphone passes through before it reaches OBS, and for some reason, it had lost connection to the microphone, so I just have to disconnect it from that software, reconnect it. Not a big deal. Real easy to do. What the hell is that, Legatus? We don't need eggplant emojis. We need blessings. Blessings in chat for everyone who's going to unfortunately see the Odyssey this week. Blessings from me for doing it on behalf of all you fine folks, because that's why I review things. Do it so that you don't have to unless you want to. You can get what I hope is an objective take on the film, so you can make an informed decision if you're hesitant about checking something out. Dash ceiling hole, Jed's Asmongold arc. No, it's not a roach hole. It is not a roach hole. It is just a little neatly sawed out little square. It was weird. There's a little, when we moved in here, there was a little plastic circle that was up on the ceiling. And where it was positioned, we're like, you know what? That's probably, a closed off electrical point. Like there might be pigtails back there to set up an overhead light, because there's no overhead light in this room. None whatsoever, which is really weird. So that's what I always assumed it is. But when we first started noticing the leak, it was just a couple drops from the edge of that plastic plate, which we were concerned about, obviously, since we thought there was electricity running through there. But we got the plumber here. He ripped off that thing. Turns out it was just put up there with double-sided tape. And what had happened? Like I said, the shower drain is directly above us. Apparently, whoever installed the shower drain didn't do sealant around the edges of it properly, so it was leaking. It wasn't a whole bunch of water coming out, but whenever we were showering, there was a little bit coming out, and it must have been happening for a while, because the drywall up there was a little rotted out, and someone had seen that it was rotting out, shoved their finger through it, and instead of trying to fix the problem, that's when they put the plate up, just to cover the finger hole. So that was bizarre, but luckily there's no extreme damage. They were able to locate the leak immediately. They're going to come out tomorrow and fix it. For what they're doing, I think I got a great price on all of it. So yeah, no roach holes, no Asmongold arc, unfortunately for you guys, and maybe unfortunately for me. I say what you want about Asmongold, but he has an audience. He makes money. Ginger Norseman, I just want a movie with controversial casting to come out without insufferable press tour. I mean, it happens occasionally, but it's usually the other way around. Like the controversial casting of Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, they freaked the hell out about that, and it wasn't an insufferable press tour. They just shut the hell up about it. And that would have been the best thing to do here, honestly, as well. But yeah, there's a backlash when it's whitewashing, and the press tour isn't that crazy when it's whitewashing. If it's anything else, it's insufferable all around. Glory bless to the finger hole. Oh, no. Yes, someone fingered my ceiling. Someone did finger my ceiling, but we're getting the damage repaired. That is not a sentence I expected to ever say in my life, but Dash does this to me, alright? He brings out the degenerate in me. He doesn't. We love Dash. Alright, I can dive into the first topic. It's going to be ridiculously short. I just want to put it out there more than anything. It's going to be very short. Can get it out of the way really quickly. Tragically, 2026 has claimed yet another brilliant actor. Sam Neill, most famous for the role of Dr. Alan Grant in the Jurassic Park films, has sadly passed away. He's been struggling with his health for the last several years. I remember a few months ago, he said that he was in remission for a certain type of cancer and was ready to start making movies again after taking a few years off. It looks like it wasn't as well behind him as he hoped it would be, and there'll be no more Sam Neill movies, which I do see as a tragedy. He was a brilliant actor, great in the role of Alan Grant. I've only recently read the original Jurassic Park book, and I still think he did a great job capturing the book version of the character as well as the film version of the character. I think his character is probably one of the closest from book to screen, and he's been in so many other brilliant roles. They mention here Peaky Blinders, which he's great in the first couple seasons of that. I recently saw the Event Horizon film for the first time. I was not expecting him to have a villainous turn in that movie, but he's absolutely, or I should say he was, a phenomenal actor. So RIP to Sam Neill. He will be greatly missed, and yet another high-caliber actor gone with no high-caliber actors to replace him. I really think the level of excellence that him and his generation aspire to in acting isn't being emulated by what's coming next. So the more and more we lose, the more and more the level of competency in acting is eroded. It's really sad. I really enjoy Sam Neill as an actor. He so many phenomenal roles. People just keep coming up with more and more examples of his career. He honestly should have had a better career. I know he auditioned for James Bond, and that audition video is really good. I like that audition. I think he's better than Daniel Craig. That's for damn sure, or he would have been. And if you guys haven't seen that, I'll actually pull that up and we can react to his James Bond audition. It's a great, great video. But he should have been more of a leading man. He had a little bit of an era in the 90s, but it quickly faded, and Jurassic Park became his mainstay. That's what he was known for on the big budget, the leading man level, and that's really disappointing. I've got a message here from Adam. Let me see what it is real quick, just to make sure he's not sending me good news for this. Everyone on my suddenly. All right, that's not stream related. Just some funny stuff going on that he's not happy about. With what's new with that? Love Adam. We all love Adam, but he is a curmudgeon. All right, we all know it. He knows it. The Dish, good film. I haven't seen The Dish. I'm gonna look that up right now because I need to watch a good Sam Neill movie. I've been thinking about watching Jurassic Park because, like I said, I just read the book, and I think this might be a good time to watch the film. All right, The Dish is the true story of a group of eccentric scientists who are responsible for manning a satellite dish auspiciously located on a remote Australian sheep farm. Much to NASA's alarm, the unconventional Aussie team, led by Sam Neill, are the world's only hope for receiving the historic images of man's first steps on the moon. With the help of the full, colorful cast of local characters, the crew struggles to overcome a series of mishaps. That does sound really good. True story of astronomy and space exploration. Of course, I'm interested in something like that, especially with Sam Neill at the helm. So I'm going to be bookmarking that. Thank you, Ginger Norseman. That's great. That absolutely is great. What else do we have coming for today? So, the other topics, unfortunately, there's no science ones that I found that were really worth talking about. There's the Odyssey, which will take up a fair portion. There's also the Digger trailer from Tom Cruise. He's been hyping up this film for months, acting like it's going to be his greatest work ever. I've only seen some images from it. I haven't seen the trailer yet. and it doesn't really align with what I'd hoped Tom Cruise's best film would be. I think it's a little overhyped from the production side of things, but we'll watch the trailer and see what it actually looks like. What's going on in the chat? Give me a ping, Vasley. One ping only, please. I'm guessing that's a quote from The Dish. Dr. Rachel, what's with the gay-coded thumbnail? What do you mean, what's with the gay-coded thumbnail? The thumbnail's not gay. It's a picture of Nolan in his Batman Agamemnon helmet, and the suitors are coming. Oh, Legatus. You were seeing if the stream would crash that Rachel stopped by. No, it's not gay-coded. The suitors are coming. I spelled it with an O, not a U, so it's not gay-coded. And the title of the stream, that's just, will Nolan be eaten out of house and home? That's a tongue-in-cheek one. That's a famous quote from the Odyssey. That's how Telemachus often describes what the suitors are doing to his family estate, is they're eating me out of house and home. They're eating my mother out of house and home. That was a phrase used, at least in the Robert Fengels version, a lot. So I thought it was kind of tongue-in-cheek with the discussion that Adam and I have had on several different streams about whether or not the Odyssey will be a financial success. So I thought it was funny. Obviously, I don't think he's going to go broke from this. Obviously, I don't think there's any real financial chaos coming. Like, I think the film's going to break even. I don't think it's going to make enough to justify its own existence, but I think it'll make enough to, buy a sandwich or something like that. It was just a tongue-in-cheek title. I thought it was funny. I didn't know if anybody else would get it. It's funny. This isn't I'll probably mention it in the Odyssey segment, but I saw some random-ass Twitter user saying, I've heard through the grapevine that Universal is expecting a $1.2 billion haul for the Odyssey. And it's like, source? Oh, I made it the fuck up. The industry projections for opening weekend are around 100 to at most $120 million opening weekend, at least on average. That's good, especially compared to most of the other films coming out recently, but that's not $1.2 billion worthy. These people, they're expecting more than reality is offering them. Which just sucks, because Christopher Nolan makes a lot of very intelligently written films. Like Inception, you have to watch Inception a couple times to really understand what what's going on, and 10 even more so. So I would always hope that the Christopher Nolan fanboys were a little bit more intelligent to really appreciate those types of stories, but it doesn't seem like they are. They're just like, Nolan's the greatest. No, I won't look at your evidence that says this is a problem or we should be concerned. Because that's what it is right now. It's just concern. Yes, I am greatly concerned by everything I've seen coming out of the film. Historical accuracy, costumes, dialogue, writing, mythological accuracy. All that makes me hugely, hugely concerned. But this isn't a Supergirl situation where I was abjectly certain that it was going to be a monstrosity of a film that was just devoid of any talent whatsoever. No, this is still Nolan. I'm sure the cinematography is at least good, and the practical effects, such as they are, is probably going to be really good. I'm not necessarily sold on it being devoid of quality. I'm going to probably hate it more than it deserves because of how much I love the source material. So we'll see. Algrim the Strong, The Hunt for Red October. That's an excellent film with the late great Sean Connery as well. Fortunately, Alec Baldwin was in it as well, but phenomenal film. I think it's the best of the Jack Ryan entries. The curse was in the ceiling and it all leaked out. It must have. Dr. Rachel, as in Nolan's suitors, are they coming to eat him out? Obviously gay-coded. No, they're eating him out of house and home. Someone's coming for him, and it ain't his wife. I don't know why I said that. Dash, remember how Simper Girl projections kept slipping, though? Yeah, they kept getting worse and worse and worse. The projections for the Odyssey are about 3 times as much as Supergirl got in the end. And if Nolan gets 3 times as much as Supergirl got in the end, it's going to lose a shitload of money. Obviously, the word of mouth is what created that problem for Supergirl. It had no legs whatsoever. The Odyssey is going to have much, much better legs. So I'm not expecting $350 million. I'm expecting $750. But it's just kind of interesting that it's only 3 times as much opening weekend, and they're like, yeah, 1.2 billion. No. The most recent example of a near billion-dollar film, actually, I'm going to look it up. The example of a near billion-dollar film, it's going to get there, it's currently in the works, is Toy Story 5. Oh, it might just limp there. But yeah, Toy Story 5, I can just share this, why not? Dash, Dr. Rachel, will the suitors eat him out? Absolute gluttony. Absolutely clip that, please. Clip what? What did I say that time? I never know what I say. Alright, so Toy Story is in its 4th week of release, and its domestic opening weekend was $160 million opening weekend, and it's running out of steam in the late 800s. I think it'll eventually limp to $1 billion, maybe, but it's gone pretty. These are still decent. It's not done yet. It has a bit left in it, but 160, and after a month, less than 900. The Odyssey has a significantly lower projection. The projections get as low as $80 million opening weekend. That's half of this. We need to look at the evidence and say there is reason for concern. $1.2 billion is not reasonable at this point to assume, especially with the difference between Spider-Man ticket sales and Odyssey ticket sale. Yeah, IMAX, great. That's going to make you a pretty penny, absolutely. But it's the standard screenings that make billion-dollar films, and they're ghost towns. Rachel and I just got our tickets for the Odyssey this week, and there were 6 tickets sold for the first good after-work hour screening on Thursday. 6. 4 days out, 3 days out. That's not billion-dollar movie pre-sales. I don't know why that's such a crazy thing to say. Yes, I am a Nolan fan. I'm a Nolan stan, or I have been for a long time. But even I have to admit that this doesn't look as good as they're pretending it is. They're acting just like the Disney Star Wars stans, just in their own reality, and it's really disappointing. Dr. Rachel, you know what? Now it makes sense as to why Nolan wanted to, let's say, dive into Greek culture. Yeah, I guess it does. She also said, I forgot the Toy Story movie was out. Haven't heard anyone talking about it. Neither have I. I really haven't. What's another example? Mario eventually got to $1 billion, I believe. Let me see. Super Mario. It's me, Mario. Alright, Mario opening weekend. Alright, it had really good legs, and it's got a lower opening weekend than Toy Story. It just held on for a long time, so, and it's international. Oh, yeah, it's international, kept up. A lot better than Toy Story's has. But we'll see. There's always the opportunity. If the Odyssey is really as good as the critics are gobbling it as being, it could get over $1 billion. Absolutely. I just don't believe that to be true. And I don't think the general public does too, because that dislike for the trailer, that ratio, is indicative of the general audience. That's not indicative of Twitter echo chambers. It's not indicative of our sphere on YouTube or anything like that. That's a broad audience, and if they feel that way, it's pretty good evidence that something's wrong. That's all I'm saying with all of this Odyssey stuff, is there's reason for concern. There's clearly something wrong. I'm not saying it's gonna flop. I'm not gonna say it's gonna bomb, for sure. Nothing like that. But that makes me a nut, and a racist, and a sexist, and an evil right-wing grifter. It's like, do you know anything about me? I avoid talking about the race swaps and Ellen Page because I don't think they're as big of deals as people are talking about. There are way more bigger issues with this adaptation than those castings for characters who are in the film for probably 15 minutes combined. It's low on my list of priorities. But, you know, it's easy to dismantle your opponent's argument if you strawman them, because that's exactly what the Nolan audience has been doing to me, strawmanning me. and everyone else who has a nuanced view of this situation. All right, I'm gonna pull up the stream from last week real quick to get the actual term that Legatus came up with for the prober. All right, even spectrum. It's avian world story, dastardly dash pre-monk. I'm not seeing the message from the devil device known as Legatus. Legatus. Did we call him Lebatus? I thought we had a name for him. I guess we didn't have a name for him. I must be imagining things. Or apparently, I said this line at work today, and my coworkers acted like it was so profound, but I actually don't think it is. Do you guys think this is a good line? Is they were imagining greener pastures that didn't exist. I thought it was funny when they were all like, "Oh my god, you must be a writer." It's like, yeah, I guess I am. Alright, we can dive into the Odyssey thing. I've been playing around at the edges for it for long enough, so we'll dive into the official one. Lebatus was the Cupid sniper story? Was it? Okay, for some reason I thought we had a name for this, the prober as well, but maybe not. I might have been imagining it. We'll make it work once we get into the chat choose your own adventure segment of the stream, but until then, Dr. Rachel, blind loyalty to Nolan is super cringe. People need to stop sucking his Odyssey teat long enough to realize it's not producing any billion-dollar milk. That's well put. I'm going to steal that. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is only a few days away now. I already have my tickets in an empty theater, but the IMAX screenings are sold out. There are people absolutely looking forward to it, but in the lead up to the film, the press tour is in full swing. We've got a few more additional comments from the actors and Christopher Nolan himself to go over here. And we're going to go through them just as a reminder for everybody out there. I'm a massive Odyssey fan. I read the book when I was 9 years old. It's my favorite book. Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of the modern era. So many of his films have had an impact on me. Inception and Interstellar and The Prestige being high on my list of best and favorite movies of all time. But I haven't liked anything that's been coming out of this film. I'm seeing red flag after red flag. I'm not certain that the film's going to be a disaster or anything like that, or a flop. I'm not saying that. I think the film's probably going to end up around $750 million in the end. Somewhere around there is my box office prediction for the worldwide numbers in the end. It's just with the god-awful dialogue. It's with the god-awful costumes. It's with the poorly made material of the production design, the lack of color. The ancient Greek era was one of the most colorful eras in Western civilization history. Everything about it doesn't feel Greek. Everything about it doesn't feel like the Odyssey. Saying defy the gods as the tagline to this film is the worst aspect of it. That's an abject portrayal of the source material. But I do love Nolan. I'm willing to accept that the general audience might enjoy this film, but I'm not certain of it. And when he says comments like this that we're about to dive into, I lose all willingness to give him the benefit of the doubt. I try to defend him, but I physically can't when what I'm seeing just is so devoid of the talent, skill, respect, and just basic intelligence that I believe he is capable of. Why Christopher Nolan chose everyday American accents and Travis Scott over traditional cinema voices, and why he says the old way has absolutely no logic. For those of you who don't know, Travis Scott is a rapper who's playing a bard in the film, because Christopher Nolan thought modern day rap was on the same level and the same cultural impact as ancient Homeric poetry. Yeah, Homeric poetry lasted 3,000 years. Some of the oldest literature in human history defined Western civilization for millennia. And random rapper who most people don't even know the name of. Whatever. But his voice is going to open the film, and Travis Scott also has an original song that he wrote with Nolan that is the end credit song. So the first and last voices we're hearing in the Odyssey is a rapper, and I have a problem with that. But everyone in the focus of this marketing, when they address the backlash, which isn't as much as they should, they always address people's criticism of the accents and the dialogue. That's what I'm going to be focusing on here right now, is their response to those legitimate pieces of criticism. Interviewer, I'm curious about the use of accents. It felt like an intentional choice. And in this video, we're not going to watch it because it's a little long, but he already said it there. There's absolutely no logic in it. Christopher Nolan chose not to use British accents because they didn't have British accents back in ancient Greece. Robert Pattinson said something very similar. Tom Holland said something very similar. A lot of these actors and Nolan have been pretending like the accents was a big part of the criticism when it's so low on the list. But the idea that British accents wasn't accurate, sure, absolutely true. I can get behind that. You're right. It doesn't make sense for posh British accents to be in every ancient film. Makes sense. Great. So how are we going to solve it? Nolan goes, instead of some Shakespearean language that people associate with antiquity that will help build their immersion and make them feel the grand scale of this and the British accents that they associate with it, let's do American accents with modern English. That'll solve that problem. He saw a legitimate problem. British accents don't make sense. And he made it worse. The modern day dialogue is the worst part of it. American accents, whatever. But he saw a problem and thought American accents fixed it. Do you know what the real solution to this is? Do you know what the real way to solve British accents not making sense in an ancient Greek film? Greek accents. I don't know why that's so shocking to hear, but when you're adapting an important historical era, yes, a lot of the Odyssey is actual history, not just abject fantasy mythology. History was there. Helen of Troy is a real character, a real person, and so many of the other people in the story were real as well. It's integral to Greek history. So why not have them play the characters with Greek accents? That's not crazy. That's the obvious solution. He saw a problem, made it worse, and then audience stupid. No, you see a problem, you do the obvious solution, and audience go, hey, that's great, I appreciate that. Devolving the criticism of this film to these points and strawmanning them to be about the British accents and stuff like that is disingenuous. And it gets farther here with this quote that people have been talking about from Tom Holland saying, oh, I wouldn't have said dad any more than I would have said father. I would have said something in ancient Greece. Father wasn't a word yet. Tom Holland has not been good on this press tour. I normally really like him and thinks he knows how to handle the press, besides the whole spoiling thing. Like, he knows how to interact with fans and be cordial and likable. He needs to shut up on this, because he's accepted everything Christopher Nolan said to him as abject fact and is running with the party line. He doesn't know what he's saying. Because, yes, it's absolutely true that dad is no more historically accurate than father to a certain extent because English didn't exist back then. But it doesn't mean that dad doesn't sound informal or disrespectful. It doesn't mean that it shatters immersion when there's modern dialogue. We want to feel like this is a time separated from our own. And Old English or Shakespearean English is a good way of getting that feeling from the audience. Yes, it's a trick. It's underhanded, but it accomplishes the goal of immersion. Suspension of disbelief is the splint. It's not a robot. It's not a cybernetic suit of armor. But apparently this guy is a historian, ancient history historian, and a knowledgeable linguist. And he breaks down what Tom Holland said here and how it might actually make sense for father to be the correct word to use. The Homeric Greek word for father is, I'm not going to pronounce that, pater. A lot of people know that. If you played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you know that pater is the word they use for father. Exactly cognate with father, and is how Telemachus referred to Odysseus. So pater directly translates into father. Pater, father. They already sound very similar. So the direct translation supports the audience's criticism. And he goes into more detail there, and it's absolutely great detail. But all of these arguments fall apart, and they're focusing on the wrong aspects of it. Focus on the real criticism. Don't straw man nonsensical arguments and go, ha ha, American accents don't make any less sense than British accents. You're right, use Greek. Where's the Greek representation? The Greek history, the Greek actors, the Greek location on the worldwide press tour. Nothing about this feels Greek, and that bothers me as an Odyssey fan. But we also have this here from another interview with Tom Holland. Now, I do have to admit, I do love ancient Greek mythology. That's where my knowledge is. Love it, study it, know it very well, especially Homeric history and mythology. I don't know periphery Greek history in an intimate way. I don't know who the Sea People are. I hadn't heard that term before, but we're going to listen to this interview here with Tom Holland and Tom Holland. Wasn't that so funny? The interviewer's name is Tom Holland too.
There is a hint of a kind of zombie apocalypse that is brewing throughout the film, this mention of the Sea People.
I just want to say, what on earth are you talking about by this hint of a zombie apocalypse? It's coming for us. It's coming for us. Oh my god, there's a zombie apocalypse in the Odyssey.
Who are based on history. There were people called the Sea Peoples who ended up destroying the great palaces of Mycenae and Pylos and so on, and go on to attack Egypt and Syria. But in the film,
they weren't in the book, and from my limited understanding of the Sea People is they were Greeks, and they, were not relevant to the story. I believe they came from much later in history, but that doesn't matter. The Odyssey is already a huge book. Why are you taking time out of the Odyssey to inject the Sea People as a zombie apocalypse threat on the horizon? I don't think it's in the film quite as much as Tom Holland is implying here. But it's just a weird aspect of the film, and Tom's response makes it worse.
They're kind of very eerie and mysterious, aren't they? Like a kind of threat that is growing and growing over the course of the film. What was the kind of thinking behind that? Did you discuss that?
It is a really, really interesting idea because it isn't something that's necessarily explored in the poem.
Because it's not important. The poem is about the heroic journey of Odysseus getting home and Telemachus' rise to manhood. He's a little pathetic at the beginning of the story. Telemachus, he is not able to stand up to the suitors. He's not able to make decisions on his own, but with the inspiration of the goddess Athena, he goes on this journey, discovers his strength, discovers his manhood, and comes back home, unites with his father, and slaughters the shit out of the suitors. It's a great arc. Those are the two characters you focus on, Odysseus and Telemachus. They're the protagonists. Anything outside of that is periphery and unnecessary to an already long story.
But this film is incredibly topical and relevant, and that particular plot point is super relevant, and I think...
I don't like the implication of that. The Sea People, these eerie and mysterious people who are coming for our lands, is super relevant and topical. I don't like the implication of that. I don't think necessarily the film's going to be woke. People have their arguments about the casting, whatever. But I don't think the content of the story will necessarily be woke. I'm not expecting that from Christopher Nolan. I don't like to use the term woke, but Tom Holland is marketing it, for lack of a better term, on a political angle. He's being subtle about it, and I appreciate it. It's much better than many other actors would have done at this point. Some other actresses would have just made up that, yeah, it's totally about this exact thing and lay out what they assumed the political message would be. But nothing in the Odyssey should be relevant or topical in that fashion. The Odyssey is the timeless tale that speaks to the soul of mankind. It speaks to us as people, giving us strength to overcome endless adversity. So in that sense, it's always relevant and always topical, but it should never be drawing direct comparison to real world events. That's how you make a story that immediately feels dated. So this film, if it is really as super relevant and topical as he implies here, this film will feel dated and will not be remembered into the future to even a fraction of what the source material was.
It's something that, people will be really affected by when they see it. Are you talking to Chris?
All right, the rest of it's not all that important, but yeah, people will be affected by the relevancy of the Sea People invasion storyline that they added into the film. I'm going to be seeing it in a few days. We'll see if any of that's true. I will reference this interview in my review to say whether or not it was an accurate representation of the content of the film. Beyond that, there are so many red flags here, so many interview points that I have a problem with. Strawmanning the audience, calling criticism irrelevant, the state of the costuming, the colorlessness of the film, the lack of gravitas from an actor like Matt Damon who's playing Odysseus. He has to have gravitas. Zendaya, I think, is the worst cast person in the film because she has no gravitas either. I do not see her as a mature and wise woman. That's exactly who Athena should be portrayed like. And that's not what we're getting here. So I have enough red flags, and I think with the trailer on YouTube getting ratioed, there's a legitimate question about whether or not the film is showing those red flags to the general audience. If you look at nearly any theater in the country and check the standard screenings, the premiums are all sold out, absolutely. Nolan has an audience that'll go to the premiums, but the standard screenings are ghost towns. Premium formats are great and they make money, but there's so few of them, especially IMAX, that it cannot get you to $1 billion film. With that price tag, with the rated R rating, you've gotten families right out the door. Families are not going to spend that much money on premium formats, and they're not going to go to a rated R film. With those concerns, I don't think this is $1 billion film. That's why I have it projected at $750 million, which may be around the break-even point. It might make money, but it will not justify its existence, but it could have been. With Nolan at the helm, a better writer, better source material, because I believe he used the Emily Wilson translation. If he used the Emily Wilson one, that's the foundation of sand that he built upon. If he built upon the Robert Fengels one and actually tried to be historically accurate and give people what they want and respect Greek culture and the Greek nation, Greek actors as a whole, this legitimately could have been one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. But as it stands, I think it's going to be underwhelming, a disappointment, yet the cult of Nolan will pretend it is the most successful thing ever. They're starting to be more cringe than even Disney Star Wars fans. That went for a good amount of time, I think. I think I got a good bit of content out of that. I'll probably try to clip that out and put it up as an actual video, especially with the Odyssey coming out. Yay. Get more Odyssey stands on my ass. They're way more aggressive than I've seen nearly any other fandom being. Like, you're an evil person if you don't think this is amazing. I got straight up told last week on one of my shorts that if I don't think that the actress playing Helen of Troy is the most beautiful person to ever have lived, then I'm clearly a white supremacist. That's insane. That's absolutely insane thing to say because beauty is subjective. So even if this person thought she was the most beautiful person in the world, most people aren't going to put her at that high of a pedestal. That's just logic at that point. But I don't talk about the race swap. Like I said, I focus on the writing. I focus on the adaptation because that's what I'm here for. There are other people who can dive into the politics. There are other people who dive into the race swaps and stuff like that. And, you know, they know what they're talking about in those fields, and more power to them. As an author, I wanted to focus on the writing, and I feel like that's what I should do. But as soon as I criticize the film, I'm lumped in with the actual grifters who know nothing about Odyssey, who don't care about the Odyssey, and literally are exactly what we're all being accused of, doing it just for racist purposes. And that's insane to me. So I'm caught between a hammer and an anvil, and I just want it all to end. I'm ready for it to be over. But unfortunately, even when the movie comes out, even after I put out my review, it's not going to be over for another 2 weeks until Spider-Man comes out, because Spider-Man will be taking the international premium formats, not the IMAX here in the United States, but the other premium formats are up for grabs, the non-IMAX ones, and it's dominating standard screenings. It's got 2 weeks to make money. And then I'm hoping Spider-Man will bury the Odyssey in the news cycle, and we don't have to talk about this, though. Let me see. Dash, it wasn't fixed yet, but I think we were just still on Legatus Probe. Okay, Legatus Probe. We can absolutely work with that when we get there. Dr. Rachel, Nolan's Odyssey has enough red flags to cloak Sauron's army several times. That's great. Dash, Greek accents are just silly, though? I don't agree. I really like Greek accents. With the right dialogue, Greek accents can sound incredible. There are, of course, bad Greek accents, like there are bad any accents, but no, I wouldn't call the accent as a whole silly. Dr. Rachel, British accents aren't historically accurate. Orchestra isn't historically accurate, but Helen has an identical twin and a rapping bard. Suddenly, historical accuracy doesn't matter. Yeah, he uses it as he sees fit, and then laughs at anyone who doesn't like his usage of his application, of historical accuracy. Dash, like Russell Crowe as Zeus. What do you mean about Russell Crowe as Zeus? Has he played Zeus before? Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I had momentarily forgotten about the god-awful Thor Love and Thunder movie. I had excised it from my consciousness, and you just shoved it back in, probing me deep. And I don't appreciate that. Oh, God, I had forgotten about that. He's not a bad cast for Zeus, especially back in his prime, but the portrayal was awful. Dad, why did you bring it up? Yeah, and for that matter, why are the gods besides Athena not in the film? The book literally opens with the Council of Olympus saying, yo, we really like that dude Odysseus. Poseidon's off in Ethiopia. Let's bring him home. Now's the chance that we have to bring him home. They see the gods in the wind. Then don't include the monsters. Well, yeah, we're going to still include the monsters. Pick a lane. Be a mythology telling, or be a historic telling without the mythology. Those are your choices. Pick one. Nolan couldn't pick one. Algrim, Jed, off topic, but I kept forgetting to ask you this. What are your thoughts on the 2017 space station-based film Life with Gyllenhaal, Reynolds, Ferguson, etc.? So, is that AI or Al? Maybe that was a trail off. I've seen Life. I think I saw it last year for the first time. Unrelated to Drive-In or anything like that. I wasn't a huge fan of that film. I thought it was, decent as a horror film, kind of a mindless horror film. I didn't attach myself to any of the characters. I didn't care when they lived or died. The Martian creature, I don't think was a particularly original idea, but it was fine. Overall, I call Life fine. I didn't like the twist at the end of the film. I already didn't feel the stakes. I already didn't care about what was going on. And then you made the whole film irrelevant and said, yeah, we're going to destroy the world. That was not a way to get me to suddenly invest. So I felt nothing watching it. But, it was fine. It wasn't offensive. It wasn't offensive at all. I liked some of the zero-G stuff that they did. Dr. Rachel, Holland has a bad habit of giving away secrets about movies in interviews. So if he says it's relevant and topical, then it probably is, sadly. That's an excellent point. He could have been giving it away there. Dash to Algrim, the tension was real in that movie. Yeah, it was a suspenseful film. I can give you that, absolutely. And I had erased Love and Thunder, Dash. Come on. Give me blessings in the chat. Come on, let's drop some blessings in the chat for my sanity after Dash shoved Love and Thunder back inside me. Dr. Rachel, Dash, how dare you remind him of that movie? Yes, how dare you? Blessings in the chat and curses on Dash for bringing that up. We gotta come up with a curse. Ooh, blessings and curse. It's full Dermy Wormy style streaming. So yeah, blessings for me and good things. What's a good emoji for Thunderbolt for curses? I'm okay with that. Being a Zeus smiting. So blessings and smitings in the chat. I'm alright with that. Let's do the lightning bolt. Yep. Alright, everyone, smite Dash and give me blessings. Give me blessings. Please, blessings be upon me. I need them to get through this week. This week is going to be rough. And at work, I have training all week, so I'm working from home as I do this training. And it's not something that I have to pay attention to, so I get to just play video games at home while I'm still listening to the training. I'm still doing the training and everything, but I'm a multitasker. So luckily I have that. This was a good week work-wise for Odyssey to happen. Prayers for a quick memory hole of that film. Yes. That's what I need prayers for. Absolutely. Dash has been smitten. He's been smited. Which one sounds better? Because smitten does not sound like the right word to choose. Legata's training all week. I thought Dr. Rachel had already broken you in. No, unfortunately, she has to take me out to the farm, put me through my paces again. The work is never done. The work is never done. Smoked? You've been smoked? Alright, that's better than smitten. Smitten's funny, but yeah, no, it is. Smote is better. Smitten. I cracked myself up. Well, let's watch the Digger trailer. I really don't know what to expect with this. I think I've heard the bio or the tagline for the film, the description of it, a couple times, but I can't remember what it is. This film just feels so weird. Tom Cruise hyping it up like the greatest thing ever. Maybe it's Oscar bait. I haven't heard anyone talk about the trailer, though. I don't know if it's being seen positively, seen negatively, or being completely forgotten. So I needed to pad this stream out because I couldn't find any other news to talk about. So I thought this was a good opportunity to check in with Tom Cruise. Dr. Rachel, Dash, you are cursed to watch Nolan's Odyssey 10 times in theaters. Now that's smiting. That is a smiting that will smart for a long time. I like that curse. We curse him with Odyssey. Nobody deserves that. Bringing up Love and Thunder to a man who'd memory hold it, you deserve it. You deserve that. Ginger Norseman, Tom Cruise is very good at hyping things up. Yes, Tom Cruise is an excellent marketer. He always puts his all into his films, getting them out into the public, knowing the right thing to say at the right time. I am a Tom Cruise fan. I've never really seen a whole lot of range from him to say that he is an exceptional actor on the level of Ian McKellen, for example, a true Shakespearean actor, but I've never walked out of a Tom Cruise film unsatisfied. I've always at least enjoyed it from an action standpoint, but his new film, Digger, has just released a trailer, and from the sounds of it, it's a very unique film, possibly Oscar bait. I don't really know a whole lot about it. I haven't seen this trailer, but I want to react to it to see what Tom Cruise is hyping up to high heavens as one of the greatest projects he's ever been involved in. Was that necessary? Alright, he's wearing a fat suit. He's on his Christian Bale arc. I wonder if he actually gained any weight, or more likely he's wearing a fat suit. Phoned it in. But that was not a way that I wanted to see Tom Cruise. That accent wasn't really what I was hoping for either. I don't think he's the hero of this, though. From what we just saw there, I don't think this is supposed to be a flattering character.
One day you're a cat.
Is this a comedy? I can't tell if I'm supposed to be laughing, cringing, or intellectually edified. It's clearly painting him in a negative light. I was right about that with all the trophies around his house. He's a hunter, and that's being portrayed as a negative thing. But it's weird with the cat, too. Am I supposed to be laughing? It's satire. Alright, I'm not getting what it's trying to be a satire of quite yet. But, and satire's not necessarily funny, but this is weird. This isn't interesting so far. This is just weird.
Man, buddy, you're the
Alright, that's a cool desk. That just took me by surprise. I want that desk. I don't know where I'd get it, but a globe with bookcases around the edge and a spinnable desk on top with a built-in bolts for a monitor. I really want this desk. Can I find it on Amazon and put it on like a wish list for you guys to pay for? I don't know how much it would be, but oh my god, I love that desk. I'm so uninterested in this film so far that this random desk is looking like the coolest thing ever to me. And as an aside, I just noticed this here. It's not the intention of the film any way, shape, or form, but this is giving me Argyle vibes here. This looks like the backpack that Bryce Dallas Howard was carrying around the cat in for that film, and that's not something that I want to have a comparison to, because I despise that. Alright, so it's a satire on evil billionaires, I think. It doesn't seem that intelligent of a satire, especially from people who are incredibly wealthy themselves. And is it environmentalism? It's Hollywood, so environmentalism is not going to be portrayed in a thoughtful, nuanced, or intelligent manner. It's just going to be, ha ha, rich whitey, nah. Alright, so this guy, his name is Dig, I think. Like, he has Digger in his name. But he's also an oil driller, is from the sounds of it, and he's accidentally moving the glacial shelf of Greenland? Oh, which part got a chuckle out of you, Ginger Norseman? I'm just baffled. Satire is often not a very intelligent medium, in my opinion. Like Starship Troopers, if you watch it as a satire, I think it's a horrendous film. If you look at it as the dumb fun action movie, it's a fun movie, and it's great. This doesn't have the appeal of great action to distract from the poorly executed. I don't know, but would really the billionaire who caused the glacial shelf to shift be involved in the presidential strategy meetings to combat a global crisis? I don't think he necessarily would be, but maybe. I mean, there are billionaires who have connections with the White House, absolutely. Is that supposed to be Congress? Or the Supreme Court? This is so satirized that, or so satirical, that I think this is an alternate reality, because this doesn't look like our world. I do love Sandra Huller getting more work. She was phenomenal in Project Hail Mary. So if this is really an Oscar bait film, and this is her way to get proper recognition, I'm all for it. If that's the best thing to come out of this film's been justified, in my opinion. I still think there should be some Oscars on the table. Alright, some of that's a little funny. It feels like a reference to a president who's been out of office for a couple of years. So at least they might be taking shots at both sides. I don't really believe that. That cat! Oh, that's horrifying. Oh my god. Is that a CGI cat or a terrible puppet? What is happening? Alright, so yeah, this is clearly Oscar bait. I don't think this film was going to land with general audiences as much as Tom Cruise is hoping it's going to. But the Academy's probably going to eat it up. Absolutely, they're going to eat this up. This trailer might not be an accurate representation of the film, which happens sometimes, but I am not interested in it at all. This is bizarre. It's weird. I don't find it funny. I don't find it a particularly intelligent satire from what we've seen. This is not what I was expecting when we first heard about this film. When we first got the poster, Tom Cruise saying this was going to be the best thing ever, and it was all going to be about digging. You never expect Tom Cruise in a fat suit with thinning hair nuking Greenland. That's not something that I had as a prediction in my lifetime. But who knows how it's all going to turn out. People will show up for Tom Cruise. Some people say that he's the last true great movie star, and box office wise, that's been hit or miss as the truth, but people will show up for it. So we'll have to check this out when it eventually does come out in October 26th. So we'll see how it all plays out in the end. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but that did not look good to me. He should have made a movie about Dig Dug. Or a Doug Trio. Make it a Pokemon movie. Dr. Rachel, we should reach out to Tom Cruise and see if he can get Jed that desk from the set. God damn it. I will watch this film and do a full stand review, Odyssey style, and say it's the greatest movie ever if I can get that damn desk. What got a chuckle out of you, Ginger Norseman? Dr. Rachel, the satire gets lost when it's rich people trying to satirize the rich. Absolutely. It feels disingenuous. It really does. And so I don't think it's going to land properly. Let me see. Yep, we've got a bot over on Kick. As always, not surprised. Ginger Norseman, it's like they said in the Rick and Morty episode with Shrimpy Pibbles. I enjoyed the first 3, maybe 4 seasons of Rick and Morty. I tried to rewatch them recently with my wife, and we were starting to hate it by the end of that watch through. We didn't get all the way through, probably around season 5, I think. The incest baby is pretty much when we dipped out, the giant space incest baby. But I don't remember the reference you're specifically talking about. But there's some great early Rick and Morty stuff, absolutely. Dash, if he can shift it, he can unshift it. Mitch McConnell energy. Algrim, that ending cat scene looks like a Legatus experiment. Yeah, what have you been doing, Legatus? Think you need a report on your activities. Are you making some monstrosity? Some Frankenstein cat monster? Dr. Rachel, if this is what qualifies for Oscar bait, then the award shows are even worse than I thought. They're pretty bad right now. And I did see someone mention earlier Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder is most likely Tom Cruise's most ambitious role. It's such a phenomenal movie. So, yeah, I need to rewatch that film. I'd much rather watch that or the upcoming Les Grossman film. Let's see if that turns out all right. Dash, it is a fat suit, or is it a fat suit, or did Cruise put on 50 pounds for the role? I think Tom Cruise is dedicated enough to his craft to put on 50 pounds when he was younger. Right now, his health is great, and he's in his 60s. I don't think you want to risk that great health to backslide so far. So I don't think he should gain 50 pounds. If he was 20 years younger, absolutely dedicate yourself to the role if you can. This looks funny, but I hope they didn't spend much on it. You thought that looked funny, Dash? I guess with comedy, it's always hard to tell. Everyone has their own state of comedy. It's even more subjective than beauty, in my opinion. So I can see why people would find that funny. It was just all lost on me. I'm actually going to look up the budget, though. Digger budget. Ginger, it didn't like my comment. Phallic jokes will always get a chuckle. Oh, maybe Restream got it. Let me see if I can find it. Dick jokes will always get a chuckle. Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't own any pets nor want any. That doesn't mean you're not experimenting on some at work, Legatus. What is my anime was Richard and was just shortening it? What if my name was Richard and I was just shortening it? Yeah, dick jokes, they are very popular. You're absolutely correct. Algrim, the cat was dead, Legatus. No one owned it either. That cat did look dead. That cat was horrifying. Alright, that looked like a Frankenstein's monstrosity. Alright, so the budget is officially quoted at $125 million, but after reshoots and everything, it's likely more in line with a $200 million price tag. Alright, a movie like that cannot pay off a $200 million price tag. I don't think it's possible. Even if it's great, that's going to have such a niche audience that $200 million is not possible. Oh my god, that's insane. You're allergic, so it's not going to happen? Too bad. It's late, I can't type good. Don't worry about it, Ginger Norseman. It's all good, man. I'm not much of a typer myself. I have rampant typos as well, so no judgment here whatsoever. I'm checking my ground news really quick and my Twitter to see if there's any more news that we can talk about. Something a little spicy. Something science related, maybe. What makes an accurate translation of the Odyssey? Oh, great. Yeah, Emily Wilson shit. Wow. As a classicist? That does sound really pretentious. All right, I'm just randomly reading Twitter posts to you guys. That's really, I'm sure, enthralling YouTube. Very enthralling content. But let me see. There's a UCF professor who passed away. That's weird. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything new. Legatus's real name is B.F. Skinner. Ouch. Ouch. With that, though, we have reached the end of my planned news for the stream. That brings us into the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment. We have a little bit of the content set up already. We know Legatus is going to probe some people thanks to the generous donation of Algrim next week. But we're going to roll some dices to see what else we can get. We didn't get a whole lot of great dice rolls last week, so we're going to play a little bit by ear using the super chats of last week to try to make something as artful, as intelligent as these stories always are. But before we do, let's hear a quick word from the sponsor of today's stream, Plotter. This video is sponsored by Plotter. Every writer knows the drill. Staring at a blank page, characters ghosting you mid-plot, timelines unraveling like a bad sweater. That endless loop of what happens next, sucking the joy out of your story.
I lived it. Outlines and chaos, competing storylines driving me mad. For the longest time, my notes were thick, blocked-out paragraphs, and my outlines were never-ending bullet points that stretched for more pages than my first drafts. Then I found Plotter, my plotting lifeline. Visual timelines that snap into place, drag-and-drop scenes to tame the wildest arcs, character sheets that keep everyone on track. It turned my latest novel, a 200,000-word juggernaut with multiple character perspectives and solar systems worth of lore, into an easy-to-understand, trackable project, complete with the series Bible, multi-track storylines, and lore documents that make world-building a breeze. And check out their latest feature, a seamless note-taking system for all those story and character ideas that don't have a home yet. Available for free to all users of the Plotter app. For pro users, your notes and files will automatically sync across devices with cloud storage. If you're tired of the plot purgatory, use my link or scan the QR code to get Plotter for life with a single payment of $150. Your epic won't write itself, but with Plotter it'll flow like never before. Link in the description. Let Plotter help you conquer your stories.
Welcome to the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment of this stream, where you, the chat, with a combination of dice rolls and super chats, help me craft out the outline to a short story. They're always weird, they're always wacky, and they're always a hell of a lot of fun, even when they crush my soul and I need numerous blessings to get through it. As always, though, oh my god, we already have our first super chat from Algrim the Strong for $20 saying, submission of a new title for Legatus, the logically lonesome limp lord legate of lollipops, lynches, and lycanthropy, or L8, his destructive weapon of choice, the pestiferous Panthera probe of Poseidon, or P4. Wow, that is a mouthful. Woo! Alright, so we know Legatus is gonna be probing people. He's gonna be called that, and he's gonna have a destructive weapon of choice called P4. Okay. These are our dice rolls from last week. The genre was a chat free space. It was a free space, and we hadn't picked anything for it yet. So we'll re-roll that one. And Observer, if any of these you want to keep, chat, just let me know. You don't need a super chat or anything. Just let me know if there's one of these that you want to keep. Otherwise, I'll probably get rid of all of them and just use what we have from Legatus, about Legatus, excuse me. Let me see. Legatus said, that is a mouthful. Now we know where Jed wants it. No! Alright? Legatus, stop giving people ideas. You're the subject, not the, creator. He treated me with the whole cat thing. L8 and gay probe. Treat as in engaged. He engaged you with the cat thing. Alright, so we have right now lead character, observer, alternate universe, exploration, fridge. So if you want me to keep any of those, great. Not, I think I'm gonna roll, and we can compare and contrast. We can compare what the dice rolls end up being and make a decision on that. So as always, high super chat starting at $1 can override any dice roll, becoming whatever you want it to be. You're not limited to the options here on this list. Every category has a chat choice where it's a free space. You guys can pick it for free in the chat. Just drop your ideas, and I'll try to find some sort of consensus, and we'll go forward with that. As always, our sections are genre, lead character, setting, theme or style, wild card. So let's see what we get for the genre. Our options in there being science fiction, fantasy, mystery, thriller, horror, romance, parody, and chat choice. Dr. Rachel, ew, but Skinner is credited with essentially torturing animals inside. Yeah, I don't know how much I can say of that on stream, but yeah, Skinner's story is wild. So he was basically Hassan. Oh my god. Yeah, Hassan in a previous life. Dr. Rachel, can I suggest Plotter expanded into a dating app for writers? I'll have to pass that on. I can actually pass that on to the development team, and we can see how interested they are in a dating app. A dating app for writers. Hey, there's a dating app for everything these days. Why not writer on writer sex? Alright, let's pick this genre. Algrim, someone needs to override my inanity and halt my insanity, $21. Yes, if you want to overwrite what Algrim said, just a higher super chat and you can override any previous super chat if you don't want that insanity. And as always, the super chat threshold for this stream to trigger Story Forge is $100. So if we reach $100, we're already at 40 with last week's super chats included in this one. If we reach $100, I'll schedule a second stream called Story Forge where I'll actually write out whatever insanity we come up with, and I'll do that live on stream as much as I can. The resulting short story will be available to all members of the YouTube side. Dash, who would Plotter match Jed with after all his Rider Flight insanity? Is it a story matchup? It's like, alright, your story is most similar to this person's story, so you might get along. They can review each other's writing, make a date, and even write about the date. That's funny. That could be really funny. Alright, let's roll for genre. Alright, we got 2, so we have fantasy. We actually have an option for that. For lead character, we have father, billionaire, filmmaker, observer, monster hunter, or chat choice. 5, we have monster hunter or observer. We'll pick between the two of those. Setting, we have present day, past, future, non-human world, and alternate universe. 6, chat choice. So basically whatever the chat wants for setting, just drop it in the chat and I'll try to glean a consensus from everyone. Theme or style, we have passing the torch, exploration, grief, catharsis, acceptance, and chat choice. Another chat choice. God damn it. Alright, wild card. We have nuke, bunny, ears, refrigerator, nachos, narwhal, and chat choice. Alright, we have nachos. What am I gonna do with this? Alright, so we have a fantasy story about either an observer or a monster hunter. About in an alternate universe or anything else, who knows? With the theme or style of exploration or something else. And a wild card of fridge or nachos. So chat, anyone have a preference for these? Alright, looks like Ginger Norseman is voting for nachos. Rachel's voting for nachos. Alright, we'll probably go with nachos. Setting a sterile UFO examination auditorium. Well, we can absolutely set it there, Legatus, but is it in the past, the future, an alternate universe, a non-human world, something like in that vein? If it's UFO examination, that would be alien, but that would probably be present day, I'm thinking. Setting a digital world. Now that's an interesting choice. Do they know it's digital? Dash is saying future. Alright. Dash said nacho as well. Alright, we're going with nachos. And nachos is not a theme or style. It's a wild card. Alright, we're going with nachos. So, it's a fantasy about Leprobus, and there are nachos around. We've got votes for UFO, which is probably modern day, a digital world, or the future. All of those are great options. All very, very interesting options. Let's see, theme or style. Exploration might be alright. I don't know what we'd go with for that. Future plus digital world. No, Matrix situation. Alright, that's technically 2 votes for future. Unless anyone has any objections or any other ideas, we'll go with future digital. I think that'll work. Legatus, the digital world where they create a sterile examination. I think Legatus wants this to take place in a sterile examination room. Are we getting a little too close to home, Legatus? Are we trying to project your secret laboratory into the story? What's Legatus doing in his secret sterile laboratory? His UFO one. Did Legatus just confirm that he's an alien? I think Legatus just confirmed that he's an alien. Or maybe he's just a pre-Mudflood Terran. Oh god. Wouldn't that be funny? Digital monster probe hunter? Monster probe hunter? I thought Legatus was the probe. So is he the villain? If we go with that, then he's the villain. And it's about the monster hunter taking him out. What happens when Legatus' secret lab isn't secret anymore? The probing never ends. Don't fret, Dash. You're still the superior villain as the defoliator. It's like golf or gauges. The lower the number, the more powerful the force. Beware P4, however. L8 is the rogue digital probe. Okay. He's an actual probe with a P4 super weapon on him, and the main character is a monster hunter of any variety. And the theme or style could be about awakening, but that would make Legatus a good person. Or, like, the probe is accidentally waking people up. Maybe the monster hunter is just a Pokemon trainer. Because, yeah, with the digital world stuff and a theme of waking up or something like that, this is a digital world that's not based on science. That's where the fantasy part comes in, about a monster hunter who's been hired to track down this probe that is making people vanish. But what he's actually doing is waking people up. That spins Legatus into a more positive light, or L8 into a more positive light. If Algrim is alright with that, we can go in that direction, or we can make sure he's a dead-set villain. Algrim paid for it, so he gets to make the final decision on that aspect of it. But, the P4 probe goes Frankenstein's monster on its creator, L8. Ooh. That would be really interesting, getting Frankenstein aspects in here. Yeah, we could have the monster hunter hired by L8, because it's doing the opposite of what it was intended to do. That could be interesting. That would put L8 back in the villain status. You defer, Algrim? We'll say a theme of waking up. Alright. And we'll go with Monster Hunter, I think. How do you guys feel about that story that I just laid out? Where L8 has to become the Monster Hunter anti-hero? Ooh. That keeps it in check, keeps it with just one character. That simplifies things quite a lot. So, yeah, L8, super smart scientist, makes a probe to, you know, let's say, mind control humanity, but it accidentally taps into the source code of this digital world and starts waking people up, and he's L8 is quickly losing control. People are coming after him, and it's not anything he'd hoped it would be, so he becomes a monster hunter to go take out his creation, his monster. Anyone probed becomes corrupted. That's right, it has to be probing. So it probes these people, and that's what wakes them up. It doesn't, like, zap them, it probes them. He has to wear, like, a probe-proof suit. Like a metal diaper. And a football helmet. A metal diaper and a football helmet. I don't know why I find that So funny. The idea of this evil scientist dressed in a metal diaper and a football helmet chasing down his probing satellite that's waking people up to the reality that the world's not real. That's full tinfoil hat. It's so ridiculous. What are you guys thinking about that story, though? The theme or style doesn't make as much sense, though. It's digital, tinfoil hat, and diaper. It's a digital probing. It feels pretty tinfoil hat. I like the idea of it being a metal diaper, though. I think that's even weirder. That's hilarious, Jed. Alright, we're going in that route. Well, it's almost Don Quixote more than waking up. Just like futility. That's more nihilism in an interesting way. But, yeah, the theme or style would be more nihilism. Futility. A tinfoil diaper is metal? You're right. I was thinking like a steel diaper, but a tinfoil diaper does count. We're on our way to Academy Award-winning writing here. All right, we're gonna say futility. Hey, I didn't spell that right? I must have. Legatus, and the probe needs to hit the correct frequencies between pleasure and corruption for it to affect you once it ends. Oh god. What is this crap? Alright, if everyone's happy with that, I'm gonna move forward with that story. So what we have now is a fantasy story about L8 in a digital world, though he doesn't know that he's in a digital world, and he's an evil scientist, makes a probing machine to convince people that he's the greatest person ever, to set himself up as the warlord of this society. But it turns out the probe tapped into the base code of this simulation and is accidentally waking people up to the truth, making them disappear from the digital world. To correct this and stop the public reputation that he's garnered as evil, he sets himself up. LA becomes a monster hunter to take out his own probe, protecting himself against the probing machinations with a metal diaper and a football helmet. That's how he's going to protect himself. And it's just going to be a little Don Quixote, the futility of existence type of story. Are we all happy with that? God. How am I still shocked by what we come up with? Alright. Oh. It's primarily nuclear. Zechromium. I think that's how you pronounce that. It's corrosion resistant. Yeah, we can use zechromium. Legatus, the code is revealed when the probe hits the correct frequency. The eject code. Everyone has to mask and diaper up 2 weeks to stop the probe. Alright, let's get this done. Alright, let me copy and paste this name. L8. Is an evil scientist set on world domination, wants to be loved and worshipped. Nuclear powered diaper. Alright, wants to be loved and worshipped. Building a probe, which, after it enters someone, will rewrite their mind into believing L8 L8 is the greatest person to ever have lived. I don't think my face is gonna turn quite that red, Legatus. Alright, how do we want to break this up? So, we've got that, where did the nachos come in? Oh, yeah, I forgot about the nachos. I'm thinking initial research, trying to keep control of everything, Monster Hunter. I'm thinking those would be the 3 chapters. Experiment. Yeah, the nachos. The nachos could just be the doctor's favorite food. It feels kind of random. Oh, that could be what goes wrong. He spills nacho sauce on the probe, and so it's all lubed up with hot cheese. This is absolute crap. The nachos are used as aphrodisiac to prep the patient for the probe. The nachos power the diaper like Mr. Atomic back in Back to the Future. Oh my god. Alright, experiment. Probe human trials. Pays someone to stand in his sterile lab without knowing why. Probe turns on and sneaks to the test subject. Drills into the person and goes to work. Weird moaning sounds. When it's done, the probe pops out and scurries away. The person, the subject, looks at L8, who expects worship. Instead, the person breaks down in tears. You are the best human who ever lived. We're doomed and worthless. Subject kills. Subject Minecrafts themselves. Legatus, oh, we are so close to breaking Jed. Just a few more suggestions might do it. I don't know. This isn't quite as bad as Vagicals yet. Cheese for the back taco? It is cheese for the back taco. I'm not gonna read that one, Legatus, but damn, that is very dermy answered. Gross. What do you guys think about, the probe? I haven't had I'll call it P4 when it starts working, but it convinces this test subject that L8 is the greatest person who's ever lived, and it freaks this person out, and they immediately die because of the pointlessness of existence. Fluke. Alright, fluke. Just making sure I was spelling that right. Eating nachos as L8 pores over his research, trying to find what went wrong. Doesn't care that someone died. Spills front burrito is better than back taco. God. Spills lots of nacho sauce on the probe. Annoyed, but something goes wrong. It short circuits and races from the lab. L8 hopes it is working now. Probing everyone. Probe, now fearsomely called. Whoa! Let me use plain text for that. And wow. Fearsomely called. I can't say that. Fearfully? Yeah, that's correct. Dash, you're absolutely right. Now, fearfully called P4 is on a rampage, leaving a snail trail of cheese behind him, leading to all unattended back tacos. People straight up are vanishing when he finds his prey. Its prey. When it finds its prey. Reign of Terror. L8's reputation is in the dumps. Far from the god he hoped to be. Alright, so fantasy. About to get the Monster Hunter. About to get the Future Digital Futility and Nachos. Alright, we're on track. We're on track. 2 weeks to stop the probe. Is that how you said it? Yes, you did. 2 weeks to stop the probe. Okay. Everyone is metal diapering up to protect themselves. Oh, they're just diapering themselves. Everyone is diapering themselves to protect themselves from E4. Everyone living in fear. Waddle running everywhere and never going outside except when absolutely needed. Alright, what do we have to do in this section? That's enough on its own. We're gonna have suit up and then monster hunter, I think. We've got the fantasy. We've got the he's about to monster hunter up. Okay. Dress up. L8 is fed up. He has to destroy P4 before it's too late. And so he can find what's gone wrong so he can make his godly probers. What in the world? He can make. Don't need that arm. Puts on patented metal diaper and football helmet and nothing else. Both scramble frequencies to prevent the probe from influencing him. He's going to war. Chase. L8 hot on P4's trail. Algrim, Jed honorably served his country, married a genius lady, has a successful YouTube channel, well, and even drinks Edward Dower, and somehow we've got him inventing horrible phrases like unattended back taco. Untended? Should make that unattended. Let me see where I missed that. Rampage, leaving it. You know, I did do unattended. Okay. So yes, unattended back taco. Dash, how about a gimp mask instead of a football helmet? A gimp mask. I like the bulkiness of the football helmet, but it needs to be closed off like you're saying, so I'll call it a bulbous gimp helmet. That's worse. Alright, fighting, but the probe slips away every time. People keep disappearing. Fight. This is when we're gonna find out that it's a simulation. Corners P4 and mercilessly beats up the poor nacho cheese grizzled ass blastin' mind warping little robot. mercilessly beats up the poor nacho cheese drizzled, ass-blasting, mind-warping little robot. What a sentence! Mercilessly beats up the poor nacho cheese drizzled, ass-blasting, mind-warping little robot. P4 gets a hit in cracking L8's helmet, unzipping the GIMP mask a little, allows the frequencies in, starts messing with his head, flops from pain to pleasure until it finds middle ground. L8 eyes open to the base code of reality. He is nothing more than a digital character in a video game. He's not real. Hopeless. Alright, how nihilistic do we want to go? I don't want to go too far. I have everything in there. I'm gonna have him defeat the probe. No reward in victory. L8 fights through the vision and finishes off with beating the probe to death. Removes his diaper and mask, embraces the absurdity of his existence, and runs through the village screaming that life is pointless. This is really dark all of a sudden. No one hears him. He's the only one left unprobed. The end. That got dark. This is such a sad, stupid, weird satire of a story. I'm actually gonna add in what you were talking about. Let me do that real quick. Middle diaper and nothing else. Diaper. Nuclear powered. To keep the probe away. Alright, added in the nuclear powered diaper aspect. Oh, what is this nonsense? I love it, but what the hell? What the hell? What do you guys think about this story? Alright, if anybody wants to introduce a twist, $5 can introduce a twist at this time. If not, we're locked into this story of L8 a scientist in a simulated world who wants to rule everything and everyone he knows because he craves power. He constructs a probing device that will insert itself into every local person and warp their minds into thinking that he's the best person ever and inject a desire to worship him with everything they have. Unfortunately, it's not working so well. The experiment successfully convinces someone that he's the best person to ever live, but that depresses the person all the way into Minecrafting themselves. But after that disaster, he accidentally spills nacho cheese on the probe, which awakens it and somehow gives it the ability to access the source code of the simulated world, unlocking its main directive as well. It goes out into the local village, probing everyone and erasing them from the simulation. For a little while, people try to stay alive, hiding from it, wearing diapers, staying home for 2 weeks to stop the spread, but it doesn't work. In the end, L8 himself has to diaper up with an atomic-powered metal diaper and a gimp mask that kind of looks like a football helmet to go take out his Frankenstein's monster to save whoever's left so that they can still worship him in the end. He chases down the probe, fights it off. It manages to break his helmet and influence him with the frequencies it uses, showing him the futility of his existence, the simulated nature of his being. He fights through it long enough to dismember the probe completely, strips off his atomic diaper and his helmet, running through the streets, screaming to everyone that it's all meaningless. Unfortunately, he's the last one left. The probe probed them all, and now he's alone, with no one to worship or fear him. Now that's a satire. That's a satire. No, this is not a biography or a Bibleography. Is this the greatest YouTube channel or what? I hope you all enjoy that. I think it's so much fun. It's ridiculous and sometimes it's a little weird on my soul, but I always enjoy Chat Choose an Adventure. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I think we're gonna lock it in there with this week's Chat Choose Your Own Adventure. If you could join in with Dash to put some blessings in the chat, we could use some blessings after writing such an impressive story. But that does bring us to the end of this week's episode of the Write or Flight podcast. I think that's everything that we have to go over and Chat Choose Your Own Adventure. This week coming up, I'm going to try to stream Assassin's Creed Black Flag whenever I get a chance. Maybe late tomorrow night, definitely Wednesday night. Thursday night, I'm going to go see the Odyssey, so I'm hoping to have a review up for that sometime on Friday. Then, of course, Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, Tryhards returns on Dermy Wormy's channel. And this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, Saturday Night Drive-In also returns, talking about an actually great Christopher Nolan movie to remind myself why I love this director. We're going to be talking about The Prestige. And of course, next week, right back around Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Write or Flight, episode 34, I believe. Some more prayers, some more blessings in the chat. Thank you, Ginger Norseman. Dash says, Jed always enjoys a cheesy back taco. There is actually a back taco emoji for the people on the YouTube side. I think you have it on Kick as well. If you're a member, there is an actual back taco emoji. So if you want to join, become a member on the YouTube side, you get access to all those emojis that I have in there. Primarily back taco, which is very relevant right now. Algrim, God's blessings for the Oshidity viewing. I'm going to need the blessing of all the Olympian gods to endure that monstrosity. But thank you all so much for watching, whether it's on the YouTube side or the Kick side. It was great having you. Thanks to Ginger Norseman, Dash Legatus, Dr. Rachel, and everyone else who chatted or lurked. I greatly appreciate it. And special thanks to Algrim the Strong for his $20 super chat and a super chat from last week. But that's all that I have for today. If you enjoyed this stream, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. The more support this channel gets, the closer we are to publishing the Endless Frontier novels. Some actual stories from me that aren't this insanity. But until then, have a stellar day and stay curious.